Okay, hi Addy. So hopefully you finished your 64 multiplication facts by now, and we're going to jump right into lesson number 34. And this lesson is super fun because it goes over decimal place value. So I am always super surprised because you are so good at place values, like learning the ones and the thousands and the millions and even the billions. And you are really good at doing that. So I know you're going to be doing it. I know you're going to be good at doing this because this is just place value, but it's like less than one or like past the decimal point. So if it's like 1.5, you learn the place value of these numbers that are past the decimal point. So that is going to be super fun. First, we're going to jump into mental math. Just this little GIF for you, which is, do you remember who it is? Charlie Brown dressed up as a ghost, not a great costume, and he keeps getting rocks. So we're just going to go right into the mental math. The first thing that we're going to do is going to count up and down by 1/8 between 1/8 and 2. And I don't know if you remember, but I am not super good at doing this. So I'm going to write out some numbers, and I'm just going to do 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. And the only thing I'm going to do differently this time is I'm not going to reduce them. I'm just going to reduce them in my head when I say it out loud. So see if you can do that with me, okay? So we'll start with 1/8, and then 1/4, and then 3/8, and then 1/2, 5/8, 3/4, 7/8, 1. Okay, that was kind of fun. Let's keep going to 2, okay? So we'll do 1 1/8, 1 1/4, 1 3/8, 1 1/2, 1 5/8, 1 3/4, 1 7/8, 2. Okay, that was kind of fun. Let's try it backwards now. We're going to start with 2, and then it'll be 1 7/8, 1 3/4, 1 5/8, 1 1/2, 1 3/8, 1 1/4, 1 1/8. Okay, and then we'll start again with, we did 1, and then just 7/8, 3/4, 5/8, 1/2, 3/8, 1/4, 1/8. Okay, we did it. Great. I think I'm getting better at that. Let's go on to the rest of mental math. We're going to do these problems, which are the ones that you do in your head. We'll start with A. 4 times 200 plus 4 times 25. Write your answer down. B, we're going to do 1,480 minus 350. These are definitely getting trickier. C, we are going to do 45 plus 18. And they have you remember here that 18 is 20 minus 2. So maybe we'll add 20, and then maybe we'll subtract 2 in our heads. D, what is $12 minus $2.50? E, we're going to double 250. F, 1,500 or 1,500 divided by 100. For G, we will do 3 times 3. We'll start with that number. Multiply by 9. Subtract 1. Divide by 2. Add 2. Divide by 7. And multiply by 2. See what you get. Let's do it one more time. Start with 3 times 3. Multiply by 9. Subtract 1. Divide by 2. Add 2. divide by 7, multiply by 2. Alrighty. For problem solving, this one is sometimes a little tricky. Let's see if it is today. Problem solving says that you have a deck of cards, and the deck has 52 cards. So I wrote down the important things here. And there's only red cards and black cards. So those are your only choices, basically. Kathy selected 3 cards. Okay, so here I'm going to put she selected 3 cards. So 3 spaces here. And then it says 2 were red and 1 was black. So I'll write red, red, black. If she selects 3 more cards, and I put those here, what possible color combinations of 3 cards could she select? Now remember, the things that she selected here have no effect on what happens here. Like, it doesn't matter what you picked before. If there's enough cards, like, it doesn't affect what you're going to pick next. It still could be red or black, or they could be all red, or they could be all black. So you write down all the possible color combinations that she could select. I'm going to let you pause it there, and we'll go on to the new concept when you are done with that. Okay, now, like I said before, we've been studying place value from the ones place to the left, all the way to the 100 trillions place. And I'm always still amazed at you were so good at that. As we move to the left, like let me write a number, like maybe 1,000. As we move to the left, each place, so each time we move, is 10 times as large as the preceding place. So that means that this place is 10 times bigger than this place, okay? And it also means that this place is 10 times bigger than this place. You basically multiply it by 10 every time you move one space to the left. This place is 10 times bigger than this place, okay? Now, if we move to the right instead of the left, okay, so let's say you have 0.003. Okay. If you move to the right instead of the left, each place it's not 10 times bigger, it's 1/10 as big. And that's true for these big numbers too, right? So if you move this arrow over here, right, and you move from this 1 maybe to this 0. So if you move one space to the right, then this second number you could say it's 1/10 as big, because this time you're moving from the left to the right. So it's 1/10 as big. It's kind of like dividing by 10 every time you go one space to the right. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, let's look at it a little closer. So this is the hundreds place, this one right here, okay? So if you go from here, this place to this place, and this is kind of like as if we were looking at a 3-digit number, then 1/10, let me do a different color, 1/10 of 100, because we were in the hundreds place, 1/10 of 100 is 10. And notice that this is the tens place, so it really is 1/10 of 100. Now, what if we go from here to here? If we're going from tens to the ones, then again, it's similar. 1/10 of 10, because we were at this tens place where we started, is 1. And now we're at the ones place. So you can see that every time we move one space to the right, we're 1/10 as big. So each place to the right of the ones place, so what if we go further, there's a decimal point there, and if we go further, each space to the right of the ones place also has a value that is going to be 1/10 as big as the value to the right to the left of it. I shouldn't have said right to the left. So if you move one space to the right, that new space is going to have 1/10 the value of where you were before. And we use this decimal point to mark the separation between the ones place and all the other places that have values that are less than 1. So places to the right of the decimal point are often called decimal places. And here we show 3 decimal places. So the decimal point is here, obviously. And here's the ones place. If we move this arrow 1 space to the right, just like that one there, okay, then 1/10 of 1 is going to be the fraction 1/10. Why? Because this is the ones place. And if you divide 1 by 10, you get 1/10. You get that fraction. Okay, what if we move from the 10ths place? And look at how it ends. Because it's a decimal, you add th to the end of it. So it's not tens, it's tenths. So that's not just me having a lisp. That's how you pronounce it. So if you're going from the 10ths place to the one to the right of it, it's going to be the hundreds place. Why? Because 1/10 of 110 is 1/100. And how do we figure it out? 1/10 of 110. Whenever I say the word of, it basically means that you multiply those fractions together to figure out the answer. So 1/10 times 1/10, when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across. So the numerators, 1 times 1 is 1, and the denominators, 10 times 10 is 100. So when we move from the tenths to the hundredths place, our value here is 100ths. This is 1/10. Okay? Now what if we go even further? We go from the hundredths to the thousands. So what does that mean? Well, we started with 100ths here, and then 1/10 of that means that you're going to be 1/1000 because you multiply that straight across. So this is going to be the thousands place. So if you're 3 spaces over from this decimal, if you count from the decimal and you're 3 spaces over, 1, 2, 3, that's called the thousands place. If you're only 2 spaces over, that's called the hundredths place. 1 space over, that's called the tenths place. And you can see that they get smaller by 10 times as small. So 1/10 as big is another way of saying that. Okay, now the way that they help teach this is to think about money. And so just a cute little kid throwing money away. Kind of what all kids do. Not literally, but just because you guys tend to be pretty expensive. Anyway, thinking about money is a helpful way to remember decimal place values. Now, there's something called a mill. Look at this over here. A mill. Right here. A mill. So a mill, what the heck is a mill? It turns out that a mill is 1,000th of a dollar. I'm going to get to that in a second. But over here, this is where the decimal point is. So to the left of it, you have 1. And if you multiply that by 10 and go 10 times bigger, you're at the tens place. If you multiply that by 10 and go 10 times bigger, you're at the hundreds place. So I'm going to write hundreds. Well, yeah, I'll write hundreds because that's the hundreds place. And I'll write tens and I'll write ones. And you can see that it gets bigger by tens if you're going to the left or smaller by tens if you're going to the right. If we keep going smaller than tens, we get tenths. And the reason they say money is a good way to think about it is because this is a dime and a dime is a tenth of a dollar. So here if we have $1, 1/10 of that is going to be a dime. And what's 1/10 of a dime? If you divide a dime, 10 cents, by 10, because we're going to the right, then a tenth of that is going to be 1 penny, which is 1 cent, which is called hundredths place. Hundreds, with that TH on the end of it. And the reason it's called hundredths place is because how many pennies does it take to make a dollar? It takes 100 pennies. So it's called the hundredths place. Now, if we go even further to the right, remember this one is the thousandths place. So now we get to thousandths with a TH on the end of it. And so you can see that's a super small amount of money. In fact, it's called a mill, and we don't even have a coin for that. It's so small that we don't have a coin. However, it is useful sometimes because sometimes we see gas shown this way. So this is sometimes how gas is shown as a price. Like if you go to the gas station and you think, how much is gas per gallon? A gallon of gas might cost $3. Here, I'll do a different color so we can see it. It might cost $3.49. And then sometimes they show this fraction. And 9/9. And basically that means that the 9/10 means that it's 1 mil less than $3.50. And or you could say, like in this example, you could say it's 9 mils more than $3.55. And it's a very small amount, but you'll see them add it to the price of gas because it's not just $3.55 here, it's almost $3.56. So it's kind of interesting, and it does add up when you start putting lots of gallons in your car, but that's a super small amount, like less than a penny, something that we don't even have a coin for. So it is interesting that they put that in the price. And now you know what it is. And now I know what it is. It's called a mil, and it's just a tenth of a penny. 1 mil. So if this fraction were 1 out of 10, it would be a tenth of a penny. But this means that it's 9/10 of a penny. So it's almost another penny. Anyway, I went over all of that. Now, decimal places extend even beyond the thousandth place. So, for example, here is the decimal point here. And you can have, like, the number pi, I can't even think of what it is right now, 3.14157, something like that. And it goes on forever. So the decimal points could go on like for a really long time. So sometimes it's important to know those. Sometimes you can just round it, but it is important to learn what those decimal places mean. So I don't know I don't remember off the top of my head what pi is, but maybe I'll just guess. 3.14157.8. I think it's a 9. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I just want to make the point that these numbers can get really big. So, or I guess really small is what they're really getting. So this chart shows the decimal place values from the millions place, which is here, all the way through the millionths with that TH on the end over here. Okay. So it goes from tenths to hundredths to thousandths to 10,000ths to 100,000ths and then to millions. Okay. So let's do example 1. Here's Michael Scott from The Office saying, "Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?" I don't think a 5-year-old would get this stuff about the decimal places, but here we go. Example 1 says, which digit in this number, okay, is in the hundredths place? And because it has that TH on the end of it, you'll know that they're talking about to the right of the decimal and they're not talking about the hundreds place, because I bet some of your friends are going to get this wrong and they're going to say it's the number 1 because number 1 is in the hundreds place. But you're going to notice that TH over there and you're going to say, oh, they're talking about past the decimal point, right? And so the THS really means that whatever number it is, it's going to be to the right of the decimal point. It's going to be one of those numbers over there. And so the first place to the right of the decimal point, so this place, is called the tenths place. So it's not that one. Now this one, the 5, is called the hundredths place, right there. So we know that the answer is 5. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's go on to example number 2. What is the place value of the 8 in this number? 67.89. So 8 is, the first thing we need to decide is it to the right of the decimal point? And it is. So it's a decimal place value that's going to end in TH, okay? And it's the first number to the right of the decimal. So that means it's going to be in the tenths place. And that is the answer. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too confusing for you, or maybe you're feeling like this. Nailed it. You got this down. You can do it. All right, so good luck doing your homework, Addy. Love ya. Bye.